Welcome to Straight Talk. Red tape. Farmers hate it, but so do those in other sectors. Are farmers really any worse off, particularly as the environment which they must safeguard becomes even more important to maintaining New Zealand's clean, green image? New battle lines are drawn over animal welfare. Farmers are feeling under attack as Kathmandu founder Jan Cameron puts up $2 million to catch out animal cruelty on farm. And the International Dairy Federation World Dairy Summit gathered in Auckland this week, attracting animal rights protesters. But what did the 2,200 delegates achieve? Today I'm joined by Gordon Levet of the Landowners and Contractors Protection Association and Wendy Clark, the President of Auckland Federated Farmers. Now Gordon, how bad have things got out there when it comes to compliance red tape issues on farm?
Well, part of it is to do with the application of the rules, and I had been listening for probably 2 years of the frustration of dairy farmers with the compliance costs and the dictatorial manner in which some officers are operating. And I would say verging on bullying tactics. And farmers were not considered. They were told, OK, do this, otherwise we'll close your operation down. Right. And I felt that that was unacceptable.
So you decided to do something about it?
Well, I badgered dairy farmers to call a meeting. And I believed that farmers were being picked off one at a time because they did not know their rules, they did not understand the Resource Management Act. And there needed to be an organisation to represent the interests of farmers and protect their rights. Right,
but there are people other than farmers involved in your group,
absolutely.
Aren't there?
Our meeting had builders, quarry people, contractors, developers, all expressing the same problems of this growing bureaucracy and the increasing compliance costs, which is costing everyone in the whole community.
Right. Wendy, what's Federated Farmers' attitude? The Federation's done an awful lot of work in this area in the past, haven't they?
Certainly. We are fighting that battle every day on a whole raft of compliance issues, ranging from, transport rules, fuel storage, employment law, rates. It's just things that are generated, compliance issues that are generated by councils, by central government and by environmental lobby groups.
And you've had some pretty good wins, haven't you, in terms of, for example, Horizons One plan, some of the changes you managed to get there?
Yes, the Horizons One plan, that's one of the biggest ticket items that we have estimated will save farmers collectively $50 million in compliance costs. The gift duty, which is probably our longest running battle, 40 years we've been fighting that one, that will save $70 million in compliance costs every year, we have estimated.
But Gordon, there's a lot more work to be done, isn't there, in terms of some of the problems that farmers are still facing on farm?
Yes, there is an awful lot more, but my main concern is that over the last 20 years this has escalated, and I believe that if it continues escalating at the rate it is, it's going to be the downfall of the country. I think it's that serious.
Right. What sort of examples do you have of problems farmers are facing?
Well, just one typical example was a bridge that was over a river, small river, about 3 metres across. It was built 13 years ago and cost the farmer $19,000. No compliance issues whatsoever. His son went to build a bridge about 1 kilometre downstream, and it took over a year to build. The compliance issues amounted to $40,000. And it had to be above flood level, which is a nonsense for a farm bridge when many of the county roads and highways go underwater every time there's a flood. So why have a higher standard for a farm bridge where cows go over? So the bridge itself cost $110,000 because it had to be higher to be above flood level, and another $30,000 for compliance, which brought it up to 140,000 all up.
So that's a huge increase over that time period.
That took money from the productive sector, which would have been spent on productive things, and just put it in a deep hole.
Yeah. Wendy, do you think that sort of example is being repeated on farms around the Auckland area and throughout the rest of the country, or is that just a bit of a one-off?
No, it certainly is. And every time that we lose the battle on compliance like that, it affects not just that farmer, but every farmer across the country. So when we win, it's precedent setting. When we lose, it also impacts every farmer across the country.
Right. So what needs to be done from here? With Gordon's group, they're beavering away at their level. Federated farmers, as you said before, they're keeping a watch over the whole country. A more concerted approach, would that be something that we might see in the future?
Yes, that's what we're trying to do. I mean, Gordon and I are fighting the same things, and if he wants to do it within his little group, then that's well and good. I would love Gordon to come into the Federation and help to fight from within our ranks, but it doesn't really matter which way we do it. What we try to do in the Federation is to work with the policy makers when they're developing policy, because it is a whole lot easier to influence change at that level than it is once it's got into a concrete draft form and it's out there in the public arena. So that's one of our strategies, is to work under the radar and to have good relationships with councils all over the country. The other strategy is to work with other rural industry groups, so we're not in isolation, so we can share our resources and our expertise. So we're constantly working with the likes of Horticulture New Zealand and the Forest Owners Association and many other industry groups. In fact, we have our own Auckland Rural Industry Group here, which has been working on regional policy issues.
Yeah, but Gordon, I can understand some farmers might feel a bit of frustration. The Federation are picking up some of these issues, but sometimes it takes a very long time to get a result, as with the One Plan. What do they do in the meantime?
Well, I think we're not in conflict with federated farmers at all, but our group embraces a far wider group, which is city people who are having problems putting decks on houses and having to fit smoke alarms to them, and the officer coming along and saying, well, I can't pass this, sending a bill for $450 and then having to come back again and to make sure it's on. And it's just this useless nonsense, which is right across the community and is just adding to costs, not only to farmers, but the rest of the community.
Right, OK. Well, moving on, Wendy, the $2 million fund that's been set up by Kathmandu founder Jan Cameron to fight any issues on farm in terms of animal welfare. Is this the right way to go about bringing about surely what everyone wants, farmers included, safe animals?
Yes, what we need is a concerted approach right across all the rural industry groups, and that is happening at the moment. So there is a strategy called Enforcement and Compliance Strategy. I don't like the name, but it is a wonderful concept. It's a forum for animal welfare, and it's right across the spectrum from the rural industry groups, including the Pork Industry Board, right through to the animal welfare organisations like MAF and the SPCA, and also including the science organisations such as Massey University.
Right, and surely the consumer has the last say, don't they, in terms of purchasing free-range eggs if that's what they want?
That's right. They do have the last say, and we'll always work to market forces. Unfortunately, the consumer is price-driven, and a recently researched survey by the pork industry showed that while people are willing to pay a little bit more for free-range pork, they're, at the end of the day, they are price-driven. They'll pay a little bit more, but not
a whole lot more.
Not what it costs to have a free-range operation.
So we might see consumers being having to dig deeper into their pockets if they really want to uphold these values.
If that's what they want, the market will direct that.
Yeah. Right. Coming up after the break, We talk about the IDF conference where dairy delegates from 66 countries flocked to Auckland for 3 days. What did they achieve? And farmers will be policed by the Labour Department on unsafe use of ATVs as of next year. Too little, too late? See you shortly. Welcome back to Straight Talk. Now it's on to You Said It, hot topics in the ag media, starting with that World Dairy Summit in downtown Auckland. Well, Wendy, what do you think the delegates have achieved? 2,200 of them from 66 countries, all gathered together talking about issues of common concern.
That's right, and they seem to be pretty excited to be all in the same room together, sharing ideas and their research. The big theme was by 2050, world population will have doubled. How are we going to feed them? We're going to have to find smarter ways of feeding them. If we don't, there's going to be strife. So they were talking about more food, better food, and how they can continue to do that into the future, because it's got to be sustainable. Hate that word now, but it's
part of our language.
Yeah.
Right. Good one. And what about the fact that Fonterra took the opportunity to take some full-page advertisements in newspapers talking about their environmental record? Do you think that was necessary?
Fonterra are always going to be the focus of lobby groups, of protest groups. They've got to be on the front foot all the time. And these initiatives have to be industry-led. The day that they start to be led by regulators and protest groups, then all is lost.
So it was a worthwhile effort on their part to get that message across to the wider audience.
That's just a part of their ongoing strategy. It's only one, string to the bow.
Good. Okay. Well.